Welcome back, everybody, to the James and Dame Show. I am Will James.
Josiah Damas.
Yep, there he is. And we are back going through these divisional predictions. Today we are on to the AFC South.
South.
Yeah.
South. We're going south. Yeah.
So
Well,
I don't know, we'll start off here with the Houston Texans.
Yep.
They will be starting their season off September 8th at Indianapolis. What are we thinking?
Houston wins this one.
If their season goes as well as people expect it to, yes. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Texans grab a win week 1. This one I think could be really close.
Yeah. This one, because it's a divisional game.
Could be one of the better games of the year, maybe.
We'll see how it goes.
Week 2 to the Bears. I don't see this being a win.
For
The Bears.
the Bears? Okay.
Sorry.
Win
Win for the Texans. I think it's going to be rough for Caleb to start. I think the Bears are going to have a rocky start. But
They'll get somewhere.
I think they're probably going to steal some wins from teams they shouldn't. And it could be the Texans, but I'm not going to try and predict that. So I'll have them as a win here. And then going on the road to the Vikings. Their defense might have a little bit of a struggle against Minnesota.
This might be an offensive battle. This one will be the offensive battle.
The question is, the thing that will work in the Texans' favor is the quarterback position, because
Yes.
I think the first few weeks will be the Vikings figuring out who's starting.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably going to be Sam Darnold week 1,
Yeah.
maybe week 2, but if it's going really poorly, he could be out by week 3 or 4. If he's doing okay, he could last till 7, 8, or the rest of the year. But at this point, it's like we don't really know.
I think this might be a Houston win, but barely. It's going to be an offensive battle. It's not defense. It's all offense.
Potentially. But I could see the Texans winning this one, starting 3-0.
Yep.
Wouldn't be surprising. Hosting then the Jaguars at home.
This might be, I don't know. Houston might lose this one because obviously not all great teams start out right away great. I mean, there's going to be some bumps in the road. I think this will be the first bump for the Texans. Jacksonville, they'll give them a good run for their money for a bit. Jacksonville's a more well-rounded team than the Vikings are right now. So that's the reason why I have them winning.
Yeah, I could see the Jaguars winning here, handing them Texans their first loss, 3-1. Then they're going and hosting Buffalo.
Yeah, we have the Texans beating the Buffalo.
Did we?
Yep.
Okay.
And then we had Houston beating the Patriots
From last time.
Yep. This one, Houston at Green Bay. Green Bay will have the slight edge here, and I think Green Bay will win.
I agree. I was going to say Green Bay over the Texans. I mean, you got the Packers. It's going to be in October. This is also the winter warning game that will feature some of the Packers uniforms that I'm actually excited to see. Weird that it's in October, but I think this is going to be a rough one. And I think, even though again both the Packers and Texans are two teams that I expect. Or I'm not expecting anything really. I wouldn't be surprised if both teams took a step back from how they finished off the year.
Agreed.
So, but I'm gonna give the edge to the Packers here.
Let's see here.
Wrong.
Colts and Texans again. Colts will probably win this one. Or do you think?
I'm leaning. This is a home game for Houston. Middle of the year. I think of the two, I think this is probably the one the Texans would win.
Okay.
I think the Texans kind of have an edge up on the Colts. I think the Colts actually could be kind of a letdown this year. They're just middle of the road, and middle of the road sometimes puts you at the bottom. And then we're on to the Jets on a Thursday night game on the road.
We had Jets winning this one.
We did that. Yeah, I was gonna say
we had Jets winning this one.
That's good because I was gonna say
this was the one that Aaron Rodgers was supposed to like kick off.
This is the turnaround,
offense.
which I agree because again, short week. It's on the road for the Texans, which is going to make it even shorter for them, and it's just going to be rough for them. Then they go and play the Lions.
Lions at Houston, though.
At Houston, and the Texans do have a mini bye
or a longer period of time to rest.
I still kind of like the Lions here, though.
Lions, I think, might have the slight edge, but it will be a very good game to watch. Very good game.
I agree, but we're gonna.
I can't believe I'm saying that in 2024.
Or to the Lions, and then the Cowboys.
Cowboys might win this.
This
one.
is again.
This is the one where I think Cowboys will win.
In videos in the past couple of videos, we talked about the Cowboys losing at home despite being good at home. I think this is one of those games that they actually beat a solid team while at home. And I think that's the case here. So that'll drop the Texans to 3 losses in a row.
It happens.
Fortunately for them, they're going to go and play the Titans. I think that's a win.
That's a W.
Then they're going to go play the Jaguars. I think they win here because they've been notoriously good in Duval, from what I remember.
Yes.
So that'll be another win. And what did we have for the Dolphins?
Texans were beating the Dolphins.
There you go. And then that evens that out to the 3 losses to then 3 wins. And then they go on the road, play the Chiefs. Probably a loss.
Yeah, Chiefs are going to have a home advantage. This is where they're going to start being good, getting ready for the postseason.
Yeah.
I don't know. Texans have never been really able to beat the Chiefs a whole lot. So
yeah, but it's Stroud era. There's a lot different, but I do think
Stroud will keep it entertaining.
I think it'll be entertaining. I think this is one you give to Mahomes. But I think it'll be interesting, to say the least. And then we had the Ravens beating the Texans.
We had a toss-up.
Did we?
Yes, we had a toss-up. We did. We had a toss-up between the two.
So that's going to be a toss-up there. And then
Titans.
What does that put them at? 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9.5. I think this could be a game that they lose because they don't need it.
Yeah, they'll probably rest their starters.
At 9.5, they even though looking at what we had from some of the past ones, 9.5 could definitely get them in still. It'd be a little iffy, but I think they could lose this, especially if the toss-up goes their way.
Yes.
I think they could lose that just for resting their starters, which would leave them with 9.5
wins and 7 losses for
6.5.
6.5 losses. Yeah.
Which is good enough to compete for the division. Maybe we see.
Depends.
There's a lot of expectation for the Texans to grow. Obviously didn't have a first round pick, but they're kind of relying on first year players last year to take another step forward, and we'll see who does. But it really is dependent upon is there going to be a sophomore slump in Houston or not across all of the young guys that they have. And
it depends.
Maybe they do, maybe they don't.
To be determined.
But I like 9.5. I feel good about because I wouldn't drop them too much. Onto the Colts though.
Indianapolis Colts.
Week 1 against the Texans, we had to lose.
Colts against the Packers. No.
Yeah, Packers might not be a fun team this year. So that's a loss.
Bears at the Colts.
I could give that one to the
Bears might be able to win this one.
I was gonna give that one to the Bears.
Yeah. So they'll start off with 3 losses, but they'll win against the Steelers the next week.
We did have that one right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then Colts at Jacksonville. Jacksonville should be able to beat them.
I agree, which is concerning because I also kind of was thinking that the Titans might also beat them here. Which is again,
I have the Colts beating the Titans, but
I could see the Colts. I expect the Colts to beat the Titans, just in general. But
yeah,
I feel like this is a game they could drop. That would be in their favor, but it's a home game for the Titans. It's a divisional game. And I think the Colts might underperform a little bit this year.
probably.
Maybe so. We could go toss-up.
You can go toss-up for right now.
I'm fine going toss-up there.
We'll determine that.
It's just one of those where I'm like, I just feel like I don't like the odds for the Colts in that one. And then we have the Dolphins.
Dolphins beat the Colts.
So that's another loss.
And then we have the Texans beating the Colts.
Mm-hmm.
Vikings and Colts, though.
I mean, you have to imagine the Colts get something going,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Do you think they beat the Vikings here?
I think it could. The Vikings defense has been rough, and I think this is probably the best the Colts offense will look all year.
Mm-hmm.
You'll
Fair.
probably have Jonathan Taylor going, Anthony Richardson going. The receivers will look okay.
Okay.
None of them are like
Phenomenal.
yeah, but I think this could be a win,
Okay.
and maybe a sign that they could turn things around. Then they go up against the Bills.
They lost against the Bills. We predicted. They lost against the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the Lions.
So what week do they play the Lions?
12.
Week 12. They haven't hit their bye yet. So that means they've played 11 games and they're at 2.5 wins. Do you throw in the towel? They'd be at like 8 they'd be like 2-8, 2-9.
Yeah.
Maybe 3-8.
They'll beat the Patriots in week 13.
Yeah, I think a loss to the
have.
Lions.
They might be the bottom of the barrel this year.
Which is like they're a mid team, but sometimes the mid teams end at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what you had with Tennessee last year.
And then.
So you said win against the Patriots, right?
Yep. And then they'll win against the Broncos. And well,
I furthest I'd go on that is toss up. I almost
okay.
We'll
come back to that. Colts should beat the Titans.
They should beat the Titans at home. I wasn't gonna have them get swept. The Giants. Ooh, I think they could beat the Giants.
Fair.
I think that's a open win, and then the Jaguars. This is when the Jaguars do. They might sit their starters, depending on how well they do, and how close the division is.
We'll have them. We'll have the Colts winning this one just because of division and everything. So going back to the toss-ups, do you think Colts will beat the Broncos, or do you think Colts will beat the Titans more? Like, which one do you think is more possible?
I mean, I think the Broncos are the better team and more likely to beat them, but something about the Colts going into Tennessee with the cold start they do. I mean, I can
see the Broncos winning that one.
Yeah.
And then the toss-up between the Colts and the Titans we'll just leave there.
Leave as a toss-up, or...
We'll leave it as a toss-up.
But we changed the Broncos to a loss, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So that would come out to...
They'll have 6.5. So 6.5 wins and 9.5 losses. So not a great year.
Yeah, but that wouldn't surprise me.
That happens. It happens.
And again, I'm a lot of it's based off of their roster. Their coaching could bump them up because who's it? Shane Steichen, I think, is their head coach.
I believe so.
He could bump. I mean, he was a solid coach last year. He got them real close to the playoffs with kind of an underwhelming underwhelming roster and not a starting quarterback.
Yeah.
Still had Gardner Minshew, who's one of the better backups, but
True.
um,
Right.
they gotta get something going.
Mm-hmm. All right then.
On to the Jaguars.
Jaguars.
A lot of this
It's already planned.
is already planned out for the Jaguars.
So they lose to Miami.
Mm-hmm.
They beat the Browns.
Mm-hmm.
Lose to the Bills, and they beat the Texans. So 2-2 for that first 4 weeks, which I think is reasonable. It's reasonable. I don't think they're going to beat more than 2.
And then we had them beat the Colts.
Yes, we had them beat the Colts.
They should beat the Bears.
They should beat the Bears.
That's a situation where that's and then
they
Patriots
will lose the Pack. Well, actually, Packers
Patriots
are going
first.
Yeah, sorry.
They beat
Patriots will lose to the Jaguars. Yes.
Okay.
And then I skipped a week. Packers are going to Duval, though. They're going to Jacksonville.
You got new highly paid quarterbacks, young quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm. This might be the game where Jordan Love struggles a bit.
I could see
because there's always going to be some, like I said before, bumps in the road. This might be the bump in the road for the Packers because they can't win every game.
No, and I think the Jaguars usually boast a pretty solid defense. You got a receiving core that should be better than last year's. If they're, and again, a lot of this rides on can they utilize Trevor Lawrence properly, and if they do, the Jaguars can be really scary.
Yep.
And this is one of those games where they prove that. I could see them beating the Packers here.
Mm-hmm.
But then going on the road to Philly.
No. Vikings at Jacksonville. This late in the season for the Vikings is going to be difficult. Just based off of what I've seen already from the Vikings schedule.
So the thing is, this is around when the Vikings should start figuring out what they're doing at quarterback.
Yes.
Whether it's Sam Darnold actually performing well or they throw J.J. McCarthy in.
Do you think the Vikings have a chance?
I think...
It's week 10.
Who did the Vikings play the week before?
I don't know.
Could you find that out?
Which week are we on? Week 10.
10, yeah, I think.
They lose to the Colts week 9.
Lose to the Colts week 9. I think the Vikings kind of actually turn things around. Maybe they throw J.J. McCarthy in, and he actually does well. Something. I think this is something where they get something fixed.
Okay.
And maybe that doesn't last the entire season, but this is where there's a little bit of glimmer, a little bit of hope that comes back. You go on the road and you beat Jacksonville, who's 3, 4, 5, 6-3. I think you drop one.
Mm-hmm.
If you're Jacksonville, which is 2 in a row. Oh no, but you go down to 6-4, whatever. Go on the road to the Lions, and I know the Lions are a top team. They're going to be a scary team. It could be an upset, but it is at home, and this is going to be a really tough one for the Lions, or it's a really tough one for the Jaguars. Could they pull it out? Sure. I don't think this is the upset for them.
Okay.
So I think this is probably still going to be a loss.
And then a win for the Lions. They have their bye week. We already have the Texans beating the Jaguars in week 13.
Oh. So 4 losses?
Yeah.
Ugh. But I think...
Do you think they beat the Titans here?
I mean, they got it, right?
Yeah, they have to.
They have to. And not like they have to as in like, they have to, so that means they're going to... I mean, they're going to actually go and they're going to play, because ain't no way they missing the playoffs this year.
No.
They can't have the same thing happen again. They go and play the Jets, which was...
A loss to the Jaguars.
Another loss for the Jaguars?
Yeah, Jets beat them. This is where Aaron Rodgers turns that team around, supposedly.
And then Raiders.
Jacksonville wins. Then Titans come and visit Jacksonville. Jacksonville should beat them. And then they lose to the Colts week 18. because they rest their starters, quote unquote.
Well, that's one of the things that I would want to. That's why I wanted to check the Jaguars. 'Cause that would put them at 1, 2, 3, 4.
They have 9
5, 6.
wins so far. And Texans have 9.5.
So that could potentially also be a toss-up or a win for the Jaguars, because if they're playing for division, they might not rest their starters.
Okay. So if
we
we
could
have that as a
switch
toss-up, Jacksonville actually takes the division according to this system. They're both at 9.5 if we give it as a toss-up for that last week.
So, we do toss-ups there, which would also change Colts to 6. Oof. And 9.5 for the Jags. And I think it would be tiebreakers, right? Because I think they split with the Texans, and then it comes down to either divisional or conference record.
Yeah.
Whatever. But 9.5. I think it's going to be close between these two. I expect one of these teams to be in the double-digit wins.
It might be the Texans, but it could be the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Both have the potential to be good teams.
Yeah.
We just don't know which one it's going to be. Now on to the losing fest, because
Titans.
Yeah, Titans. Bears week 1.
I don't know if the Bears win week 1.
It's at home.
It is at home.
Caleb Williams opens against Will Levis. I mean, it's an easy start.
It might be the Bears winning this one.
Yeah, I think this is where you see the Bears actually I think this is a false hope game. Because I mean, they have weapons.
They do.
Like they do. And so do the Titans. But the Titans are in a clear rebuild. Bears are trying to define themselves as like ending their rebuild.
Yes.
And there's high expectations, and their weapons are supposedly better. Also, again, the Titans don't have DeAndre Hopkins. That is going to be a major factor for the first 4 to 6 weeks.
They will lose their first 4 games with what we already have.
Yeah, because it's that plus the Packers, which I agree. Without D-Hop, it's going to just be, Calvin Ridley and Tyler Boyd?
Yeah. Then they have their bye week on week 5. Actually, this might be their first win. It will be against the Colts.
The Colts? Because, we had that one as a...
toss-up.
Did we?
Yeah, we had that originally as a toss-up.
I'll leave it as a toss-up for now then.
So they lose to the Bills, lose to the Lions, and then the Patriots beat them in week 9. There's the Chargers in week 10.
Go on the road to play the Chargers. I mean, they're gonna start to grow a little bit towards the end of the year.
But do you think Harbaugh is gonna let that happen? I guess.
I don't know. The Chargers might be a team that are very up and down. That I feel like they're gonna see some inconsistencies, better than what you saw with Brandon Staley.
So do you think they'll beat the Chargers? This might be one of those.
I think it could be
games.
an upset.
That might be one of those down.
Yeah,
games.
it could be. I think it could be an upset because I mean, Titans gotta win at some point.
Yeah. Then the Vikings versus the Titans.
Yeah,
I feel like the Vikings have played almost all of the AFC South teams.
The NFC North plays the AFC South.
Oh yeah, duh.
This one I probably would give the Vikings.
Yeah.
Not in a pretty game. But,
no.
Then there's the Texans. At the Texans, I think we had this as a loss. Was this a loss?
The Texans beat them, yeah.
Was it?
Yep. Huh. And then Titans and Commanders.
They could sneak one out against the Commanders.
I can see
I
that.
could see it.
Yeah. And then they lose 4 of their last 5 games. They lose to Jacksonville twice, week 14 and 17. They lose to the Bengals in week 15. 16, they lose to the Colts. They win their last game against the Texans. Because I feel like there's going to be an upset at some point. Because if Jacksonville and the Texans are racing for the playoffs, those 2 games will be the ones to determine who gets in and who doesn't.
Yeah, that's the thing is like these are like what we would expect. The games are probably going to get flipped around. Like they might win one we're expecting them to lose, but then lose one that should be an easy win.
Exactly.
Which for the Titans is not going to be many.
Nope.
So that leaves 2.5, 3.5.
No, they have 4 wins right now.
1, 2, 3.
They should have 4 wins.
Week 5?
Yeah, week
or 6?
6. I have the Titans winning against the Colts.
I thought that was the toss-up, I thought.
It was one of the toss-ups, but we changed that one.
Oh, did we?
Yeah.
So that puts them at...
So, yeah.
5 wins?
4.
4?
They win...
wins.
Yeah. 4 wins.
So, oh God. This is going to make this...
It's going to be rough for this division.
They
have talent. They just don't have enough to push anything right now.
I mean, it's not surprising because a couple years ago, this was the bottom barrel division of the AFC.
Yeah.
It was.
It's ramping up again.
You had like
it's getting
what?
its full swing.
It was the 8-win. I don't remember who made it, but it was one of the 8-win teams that won a division.
It was a 9.
8 or 9-win.
It was.
Was it the 9-win Titans?
Maybe.
Perhaps. Either way, it was ugly a couple years ago. You have 2 teams that have kind of stepped forward a little bit. One who's still mediocre and one who's falling from its reign.
Yeah, Jacksonville won 2 years ago.
And then the
Texans won last year.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's getting interesting. Last year was interesting because there was a 3-way race for first place.
Yep. At one point there was.
Well, even to the end, there was only 1 game separation.
Yeah.
Between Houston, Jacksonville, and the Colts. Surprisingly, but
so
either way,
we have Jacksonville and the Texans at a 9.5 win, Colts at 5 wins, and Titans as 4. I mean, with how the schedule's already kind of being thrown out there, it's kind of hard to, avoid it. So,
yeah, it's an iffy division. You got some interesting teams, and then again, one team that's not great, one that's kind of middle of the road. And you're playing the NFC North, who you have an inconsistent team in the Bears. Packers are looking good. Lions are looking really good. And then another inconsistent team in the Vikings.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be rough for them. And then they also play the AFC East, who you got, depending on the week, 2, 3 good teams.
Yeah.
And then you got to play an AFC West and an AFC North team, which, depending on who you are, that's not fun. AFC South doesn't have an easy schedule.
No.
Necessarily. And they kind of just stumble. They're going to stumble. And I think, again, Texans or Jags are going to look, I feel like one of them is going to look really good and maybe get up to like 12 wins.
Yeah, at some point.
But it's kind of dead even right now on who it could be because
we don't know.
I just have a feeling the Texans aren't going to look as good as they did last year. And
Jacksonville might squeak it out.
Jacksonville,
they're the next best team in that division.
maybe. I don't know. We see. They could flop. But, I mean, yeah, that is the AFC South.
Mm-hmm. So.
Guess it. But, yeah, Jags and Texans, and then Colts and Titans, the bottom.
Yep.
So that wraps up the AFC South. We have one more left in the AFC that will be coming out
Eventually.
soon, shortly. Keep your eyes up. But thank you for joining us for this video. And we hope to see you guys in the next video.
See ya.